The purple and gold are 15-4, sitting atop the Western Conference standings, and for the first time in 7 years, the conversation inside the Lakers organization isn't centered around one single name. That shift you're feeling, that subtle change in the atmosphere at Crypto, Arena, represents something we've never witnessed before in LeBron James's 20-plus year journey through the NBA. Welcome to Lakers News Fan Report, your dedicated source for every breaking development, every strategic move, and every piece of insider information about our beloved Los Angeles Lakers. I'm here to bring you the unfiltered truth, the deep analysis, and the perspective you need to understand exactly where this franchise is heading. Today, I'm diving into a situation that's been developing quietly beneath the surface, but is now impossible to ignore, something that will define the next chapter of Lakers basketball. Let me paint the picture for you because understanding where we are right now requires context that goes beyond just looking at the standings. The energy around this team feels different than it has in years. There's a confidence, a swagger, a sense that we're watching something special take shape. When you see Austin Reeves orchestrating the offense with the poise of a 10-year veteran, when you watch Doncic dissect defenses with that effortless brilliance that only a handful of players in the world possess, you start to realize that something fundamental has shifted in Lakerland. The chemistry on the court is undeniable, the ball movement is crisp, and most importantly, we're winning games in dominant fashion against legitimate competition. That 15-4 record isn't a fluke or a hot start that will fade. This is sustainable basketball built on a foundation that looks dramatically different from what we've grown accustomed to over the past several seasons. I need you to understand something before we go any further. This isn't about disrespect. This isn't about diminishing greatness. And this absolutely isn't about forgetting what one man has meant to this organization. We're talking about a player who delivered a championship when this city needed it most, who elevated the Lakers back to championship contention after years of rebuilding, and who has given everything he has to this purple and gold jersey. The respect for that legacy is permanent and unchangeable. But basketball, like all professional sports, is a business where difficult decisions have to be made based on reality rather than sentiment. And the reality we're facing right now is something that has never happened before in LeBron James's career, spanning over 2 decades of absolute dominance. For the first time since he entered this league as an 18-year-old phenom in Cleveland, LeBron James is not the unquestioned alpha of his franchise. That's not an opinion or hot take. That's simply a factual assessment of where we are. When you look at the early part of this season, particularly those stretches where LeBron sat out for load management to deal with his left leg issues, including sciatica that's been bothering him, the Lakers didn't just survive his absence, they thrived. The offense flowed differently, with more ball movement and less isolation-heavy possessions. Defensively, the team showed cohesion and communication that sometimes gets disrupted when trying to integrate a player who's been the focal point everywhere he's played. The team's record during those games without LeBron told a story that nobody really wanted to address directly, but everyone could see clearly. This Lakers squad, as currently constructed, functions exceptionally well with Doncic running the show and Austin Reeves providing that secondary playmaking and scoring punch. Now, let me take you back to February, because that's when everything changed. The trade that sent shockwaves through the entire NBA landscape. Anthony Davis, our defensive anchor and second star, heading to Dallas. Doncic, one of the 5 best players on planet Earth, coming to Los Angeles. When that trade went down, the reactions ranged from complete shock to heated debate about whether the Lakers gave up too much. Davis was averaging north of 25 points and 12 rebounds, anchoring our defense and looking like a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Trading that away felt risky, felt like we were gambling the present for the future. But here's what the front office understood that took time for the rest of us to process. Luka Doncic isn't just good, he's generational. At 26 years old, he's in his absolute prime. He's an MVP candidate every single season, and most importantly, he gives you 15 years of elite production if you build correctly around him. The numbers tell you everything you need to know about what Luka brings. This season, he's averaging 31 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds per game. His usage rate is through the roof, but he's not forcing anything. The efficiency is remarkable, shooting splits that would make any analytics department salivate. But beyond the raw statistics, it's the way he controls games that separates him from everyone else. Luka dictates pace. He manipulates defenses with subtle movements and changes of speed, and he makes everyone around him exponentially better. When you have a player like that, someone who's 26 years old and just entering his prime years, you build everything around him. That's not a controversial statement. That's basic team-building philosophy that every successful franchise follows. Austin Reeves deserves significant credit in this conversation, too, because his breakout has been one of the most pleasant surprises of the entire season across the league. Remember, this is a player who went undrafted, who had to earn every single minute, who was doubted at every stage of his career. And now he's averaging 22 points per game, shooting 43% from three-point range, and looking like a legitimate third star on a championship-caliber team. The growth in his game isn't just about scoring either. His playmaking has taken a massive leap, averaging 6 assists while taking care of the basketball and making smart decisions in transition. Defensively, he's holding his own against starting-caliber guards, using his size and intelligence to compensate for any athletic limitations. When you pair Reeves with Doncic in the backcourt, you have 2 players who can handle, pass, and score at a high level, creating endless pick-and-roll possibilities and spacing that opens up the entire floor. This brings us to the central question that's been discussed in NBA circles but hasn't fully broken through to mainstream conversation yet. Where does LeBron James fit in all of this? At 41 years old, dealing with physical limitations that require load management and careful monitoring, is he still the answer for a Lakers team that's trying to maximize a championship window with Luka Doncic? Stephen A. Smith, one of the most prominent voices in basketball media, addressed this directly in a recent appearance. His analysis wasn't rooted in disrespect toward LeBron's game, because even Stephen A. acknowledged that LeBron, despite the sciatica and despite being 41, can still come back and average over 20 points per game. The skill is still there, the basketball IQ remains elite, and on any given night, LeBron can still take over and dominate in ways that few players in league history ever could. But Smith's point, and it's one that resonates when you examine it honestly, wasn't about LeBron's current ability. It was about organizational direction and long-term planning. His assessment was straightforward and logical. If the Lakers had a choice, if presented with an opportunity that made basketball sense, they would move on from LeBron, not because he can't play anymore, not because he's hurting the team, but simply because of age and the reality that Luka Doncic is the future. When you're trying to build a championship contender around a 26-year-old superstar who could dominate the league for the next decade, it doesn't make strategic sense to allocate significant resources and roster spots to a 41-year-old, regardless of his name or legacy. Smith phrased it clearly. You want young players who can grow with Luka, who can develop chemistry over multiple seasons, who can handle the physical demands of an 82-game season plus playoffs without needing constant maintenance. Let me give you some additional context that makes this situation even more complex. LeBron's contract situation means he has leverage in these discussions. He's not just a player who can be moved at will without consideration for his preferences or input. The relationship between LeBron and the Lakers organization has always involved mutual respect and dialogue. But from a pure basketball perspective, separate from personal feelings or historical significance, the calculus becomes clear. The Lakers are 15-4 with a core built around Doncic and Reeves. They're winning games when LeBron sits out, and the salary cap implications of his contract could be redirected toward younger talent that fits the timeline of their new franchise cornerstone. That's not criticism. That's simply mathematical reality when you're trying to build a sustainable winner. Here's where I want to be completely transparent with you about what I think this means moving forward. I believe the Lakers, as an organization, are entering a transition period that will require delicate handling, but ultimately positions us for sustained success. The immediate future likely involves LeBron finishing out this season while managing his minutes carefully, potentially sitting out more games as we approach the playoffs to ensure he's as healthy as possible for a postseason run. The Lakers are good enough to maintain their position in the standings without requiring LeBron to play heavy minutes every night, which is actually a luxury that few LeBron teams have ever had. This allows for strategic rest and preparation that could make the difference in a playoff series. But looking beyond this season, the conversation becomes more serious and the decisions more consequential. Do the Lakers explore trade possibilities that would move LeBron to a contender where he could finish his career chasing one more ring? Do they work with LeBron to facilitate a buyout that allows him to choose his own destination while freeing up roster flexibility? Or do they keep him on the roster as a veteran presence, accepting that his role will be significantly diminished compared to what he's been throughout his career? Each path has merits and complications, and the answer will depend on conversations that happen behind closed doors between LeBron, his representation, and the Lakers front office. What excites me most about this situation, and why I remain incredibly optimistic about the Lakers' future, is that we finally have clarity about our direction. For years, the franchise has existed in this gray area where we're trying to compete now while also planning for the future, never fully committing to either approach. That led to roster construction that didn't make sense, veteran minimums mixed with young players who needed development time, and a lack of coherent identity on the court. But with Luka Doncic as the centerpiece, everything comes into focus. We know we're building around him, we know Austin Reeves is a core piece, and we can make every subsequent decision through the lens of maximizing Luka's prime years. That clarity is invaluable when you're trying to construct a championship roster. The defensive side of the ball also deserves attention because that's where this team has made significant strides. Without getting into too much tactical detail, the Lakers are currently ranked 7th in defensive efficiency, which represents a massive improvement over recent seasons. The communication has been better, the rotations have been sharper, and the effort level has been consistently high. Some of that improvement comes from personnel changes and coaching adjustments, but some of it also relates to having a more defined hierarchy on the court. When everyone knows their role and responsibilities, when there's no confusion about who's primary and secondary in various actions, defense becomes more cohesive. That's another subtle benefit of this transition period we're experiencing. I want to address something directly because I know what some of you are thinking. How can we possibly be okay with moving on from LeBron James? How can we discuss this without feeling like we're betraying someone who brought us a championship? Those feelings are valid and understandable, but here's what I'd ask you to consider. The greatest sign of respect we can show LeBron is acknowledging that the Lakers organization is bigger than any single player, even one as magnificent as him. The purple and gold existed before LeBron, they'll exist after LeBron, and the goal is always the same, regardless of who's wearing the jersey: championships. If the path to the next championship requires difficult decisions and uncomfortable transitions, then that's what has to happen. LeBron himself, throughout his career, has always prioritized winning above everything else. He's made difficult decisions to change teams, to take less money, to accept different roles when necessary. He understands the business of basketball better than almost anyone. And I believe when the time comes, he'll handle this transition with the same professionalism and grace that's defined his entire career. Let me also point out that we're in an incredible position compared to most franchises. We have Luka Doncic, a player that 30 teams in the league would trade their entire roster to acquire. We have Austin Reeves emerging as a legitimate star on a team-friendly contract. We have cap flexibility coming up that will allow us to add another significant piece if we make smart moves. We're winning games, we're playing entertaining basketball, and we're positioned for both immediate success and long-term sustainability. That's extraordinarily rare in the modern NBA, where most teams are either competing now at the expense of the future or building for the future at the expense of the present. We get to do both simultaneously, and that's something to celebrate rather than lament. The parallels to other great transitions in NBA history are worth examining too. When Michael Jordan left the Bulls for the second time, it was heartbreaking for Chicago fans, but the organization had to move forward. When Tim Duncan retired from the Spurs, San Antonio had to reimagine their identity. When Kobe Bryant's career wound down, the Lakers had to endure lean years before finding the next foundation to build on. These transitions are never easy. They always involve emotional complexity, but they're also inevitable. The key is handling them with dignity, respect, and a clear vision for what comes next. I believe the Lakers are positioned to do exactly that with the Lebron situation. There's no animosity, no public feuding, no messy divorce scenario. Just a natural evolution as one era concludes and another begins. Before we wrap up, I want to get your perspective on all of this because your voice matters in this community. Drop a comment below and tell me honestly, do you think the Lakers should actively try to trade LeBron James to maximize their return? Or should they let him finish his career in purple and gold, regardless of the basketball implications? How do you feel about the way this season has unfolded with Luka Doncic taking over as the focal point? And most importantly, are you excited about the Lakers' future with Luka and Austin Reeves as the core moving forward? I read every single comment, and your insights help shape the conversations we have on this channel, so please share your thoughts. To bring this all together, here's my final take on the LeBron James situation and what it means for our Lakers. We are witnessing the closing of one chapter and the opening of another, and that's not something to fear or resist. LeBron James will go down as one of the greatest Lakers ever, someone who delivered when it mattered most and represented the organization with class and excellence. His legacy is secure and celebrated. But the Lakers' story doesn't end with LeBron. It continues with Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and whoever else this front office brings in to build a championship contender. The 15-4 record tells us we're on the right track. The eye test confirms we're playing winning basketball. And the future looks brighter than it has in years. That's cause for optimism, enthusiasm, and excitement about what's coming next in Lakerland. Make sure you subscribe to Lakers News Fan Report if you haven't already, because I'm bringing you updates, analysis, and insider information every single day. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and join our community of passionate Lakers fans who want the most comprehensive coverage available. Share this video with everyone you know who bleeds purple and gold. Leave your comments below with your thoughts on this LeBron situation, and let's continue building the best Lakers community on YouTube. This is an incredible time to be a Lakers fan, and I'm honored to be on this journey with all of you. Stay locked in, stay positive, and let's watch this team chase championship number 18. Lake Show forever.